Welcome to the Scientist with Heart podcast, my open diary of academic life. This is a space where I share my personal thoughts and reflections on research, teaching, and university life. These are my own opinions, and the aim is to spark discussion, exchange perspectives, and gather insights from others navigating the academic roller coaster at the bench and in the lecture hall. You are not going to see me wave around papers, cite articles to prove what I'm saying on this channel. And you also won't see me using quotes, aphorisms from famous people. I do not use these things to sound believable. Why not? Because I'm a scientist and I know exactly how this works, this world of citing and citations and supporting what you say by what other people have said. So if you wanted to, I could find you 5 science papers that agree with one statement and also 5 papers that say the opposite. And that is because science is not just one simple yes or no. It's complicated. And in the world of science, we use citations. That means naming the authors and studies that came before us. And we use this to put our scientific work into context of the literature, the existing literature. And that is very important when we write papers. But here on YouTube, I see people using citations in a way that only looks smart, oftentimes, most of the time, because they say things like studies proved or scientists showed, and then they give 1 or 2 examples. And I have to say, studies don't always prove one thing, and they also don't prove it. They give a little mosaic piece information about a real big thing that's far from being understood. And often things are mixed, and you can use one part to make yourself look right while ignoring the other part that doesn't fit. And that feels unfair, and it's also too simple. So I will not do that here. Also, this channel is my personal space. I want to talk as a person who is also a scientist, and I want to share my experiences and my own thoughts from teaching, research, and life, academic life. And of course, sometimes I could show studies or statistics that match with what I am saying, but then my goal here is different. It's more like I'm offering you a box of chocolates, and you do not have to eat one. You can just look, pick one if you like. You can also walk away. What I am saying is my experience and my opinion. And that's the spirit of this channel. It is not a science paper, and I don't want to build a wall of citations around every idea or thought that I have. Now, let's talk about quotes from famous people, aphorisms. You know, when someone says, Einstein once said this or that, or this great politician once said that, it's often used in science talks, TED Talks, motivational videos, and, well, you know, people do this all the time. And sometimes it sounds elaborate, but to me, it is boring and it's so overused. First of all, we often don't even know if these people really said those words. And second, what does Einstein, a genius at physics, really have to do with education or giving life advice? Sure, he was smart, but does it mean that every sentence people say is deep and useful in any situation? I don't think so. It is often used as a hook, as a picture, as a metaphor, as something, as a starting point for a discussion, for an argument. But some of these quotes are very easy to twist, and you can use them to push any point of view if you want. That's the power of rhetoric. And I see it happening too much, and honestly, I don't like it. Like I said, it's boring to me. It's overused. What I am interested in is hearing people's own opinions, their own voices, no matter how raw it is. And also these opinions and voices, they can change. We are not a fixed medium. We are allowed to change views, opinions, point of views. I like it when people just share what they think in their own words without hiding behind what someone else once said and that someone else was important. So they apparently can, well, say things and then it supports anything and everything 100 years later. It feels more honest to me to just think out loud, and then people can decide if they agree or they can connect. I like this because then I know I'm hearing original thoughts and it's not a random borrowed sequence and sentence. So that's why personally I even dislike books that begin each chapter with such a fancy quote. You know those books? I have always thought, do the authors do that? Do they really write the book and then they dig through the literature and or internet and find quotes that fit? Or do the editors do that? Well, maybe someone knows about this. I would be curious. I think it's very distracting from the main text. It rarely fits. I have no example in mind at the moment where this was something pleasing or funny and not. It looked like it was added, and there's no need to do that. Many times it just feels fake. It feels fake because sometimes it seems added just to sound smart, and it actually makes me enjoy the real text less in the book example now. And yeah, that's, like I said, it's just how I feel. And this is my channel, so I will stick to that choice. Now, it could be that people argue, well, but she's a scientist. She can cite, she can use statistics, or yeah. Well, I don't. I just explained why. Again, someone might be thinking, well, if she's a scientist but doesn't use citations or quotes, does she mean she doesn't trust science? That's not what I said. Science is important and it's real, but science is not built for finishing arguments with one final answer. It's open-ended. Science is like, it's flowing, and a paper has a conclusion, but still it's one piece of a puzzle, and it changes as we learn more. It changes as we dive deeper into new possibilities, technical possibilities, and when new evidence comes around. So it's never static. What I would cite today would be outdated in a year. So what does it help? Did my opinion change based on that change? No, I don't think so. Not at this very moment in time. And as scientists, when we cite each other's work, we don't cite it because it's the absolute truth, but we want to put things into perspective. It helps setting the scene and giving that perspective. That's the word, perspective. It's not a conclusion. And in the same way, my words here are my perspective on things, and they might change in a year because people grow, the world changes, new science comes out, and we see things very differently over time. That's natural and that's very human. So back to this channel. No citations, no fancy quotes from famous people, just me. Sharing my knowledge, my life experience, teaching academia experience. What I want from you, from the community that I intend to grow, is discussion. If you are a scientist too, what do you think about that topic when you step outside of the academic papers? Can you even think like this, or are you a little bit forced to think also in this framework, to look for support in literature or what people say that are more experienced or successful in any type? Because that can also happen. Yeah, I would really like to hear from you what your stance is on this. And do you enjoy when people flood their videos or post with citations and borrowed quotes? Or do you find it tiring like I do? I'm curious in both sides, so please tell me, leave a comment and start a discussion. Because there are two sides to everything. And also here, I know that people sometimes love it if, especially scientists, show you and break down citations, quotes, and so on, and back up their story. Basically, as if it was journalism. So I'd love to talk about this more. And I noticed one thing that, for example, on LinkedIn, everything seems to revolve around posting papers, quotes, and pretending to build on top of these citations, post quotes. And again, also there, it has become so boring. So I want to know what you think about it. Do you have the same experience? Share your thoughts and let's open a conversation here about that together.